In the early hours of the Cold War, long before the public knew how close disaster could come, the United States lost a nuclear weapon. Not in enemy territory, not in combat, but during a routine training mission. On February 13, 1950, a massive American bomber vanished into the frozen wilderness of Canada, after dropping a nuclear bomb into the ocean below. This was the first broken arrow incident in U.S. history, and for decades, much of what happened remained classified. This is the story of the mission that went wrong, the bomb that was never recovered, and the mystery that still lingers in the mountains. Welcome to Covert Core. In 1950, the Cold War was escalating fast. The Soviet Union had just tested its first atomic bomb, and the United States was racing to prepare for the unthinkable, a nuclear war. To do that, Strategic Air Command ran extreme long-range training exercises designed to mirror real nuclear strike missions. One of those missions launched from Eielson Air Force Base in Alaska. The aircraft was a B-36 Peacemaker, the largest bomber ever built at the time. With a wingspan longer than a football field and 6 massive piston engines, it was designed to fly non-stop across continents and deliver nuclear weapons deep into enemy territory. The planned route covered more than 5,600 miles, from Alaska to Montana, down to California, and back to Texas. On board, 17 crew members and 1 Mark IV nuclear weapon. The Mark IV bomb looked and weighed like a real atomic weapon. It contained uranium, lead shielding, and over 10,000 pounds of high explosives. But there was one critical difference. It did not contain a plutonium core. Without that core, a nuclear detonation was impossible. Still, if the high explosives detonated, the blast would be massive and deadly. This was standard procedure for training flights. But as the crew would soon discover, even a dummy nuclear weapon could still cause real destruction. Several hours into the flight, the B-36 encountered a nightmare scenario: severe icing, extreme turbulence, and temperatures plunging to -40 degrees Fahrenheit. Ice began forming on the wings and inside the aircraft's carburetors. Then it happened. One engine caught fire, then another, then a third. Investigators later determined that ice buildup caused excess fuel to flood the engines, turning them into firestorms. With half of the aircraft's engines burning, Captain Harold Berry fought to keep the bomber airborne, but the plane was losing altitude fast. The mission was over. Now it was about survival. The B-36 was flying over the Pacific Ocean, off the coast of British Columbia. If the aircraft crashed intact, the bomb could be recovered by a foreign power, or explode on impact. The crew followed emergency nuclear protocols. The order was given. The bomb was armed for conventional detonation only, and jettisoned from 8,000 feet. Moments later, the crew saw a blinding flash. The high explosives detonated on impact with the ocean, sending a shock wave through the water below. There was no nuclear explosion, no radiation cloud, but the United States had just lost its first nuclear weapon. With the aircraft still failing, Captain Berry issued the final command: abandon the plane. One by one, the crew jumped into the darkness, parachuting into frozen wilderness and open ocean. The conditions were brutal: freezing temperatures, snow-covered mountains, pitch-black night. Of the 17 men on board, 12 survived, enduring days in the snow before being rescued by Canadian search teams. 5 were never found, believed to have perished in the icy waters below. Against overwhelming odds, most of the crew lived, but the aircraft itself was still missing. Years later, wreckage from the B-36 was discovered on Mount Colleget, deep in British Columbia. Here's the mystery. The crash site was located over 220 miles, from where the crew had bailed out. How did the plane fly that far on its own? Some speculated that one crew member stayed behind, attempting to steer the bomber away from populated areas. Others believed the aircraft simply remained airborne longer than expected. No evidence ever confirmed either theory. In 1954, the U.S. Air Force quietly reached the site to destroy or recover sensitive components. What remained was left scattered across the mountain, where parts of the bomber still sit today. The 1950 B-36 incident became the first officially recognized broken arrow, a term used for accidents involving nuclear weapons. It wouldn't be the last, but it set a precedent, revealing just how close nuclear disaster could come, even in peacetime. A lost bomb, a vanished aircraft, and questions that still don't have clear answers. This was the moment the Cold War quietly crossed a dangerous threshold. If you want more hidden stories from the shadow world of military history, nuclear secrets, and covert operations, subscribe to Covert Core, because the most dangerous moments in history often happen when no one is watching.